All right, let's get into, I think it's episode 10 of our series of Superman costume analysis, where this week we are looking at the costume of Tyler Hoechlin from Superman and Lois. Last week we looked at the Supergirl version of his costume. This week we're going to look at the versions, kind of plural, but in totality, of Tyler Hoechlin's costume for Superman and Lois. It has had some minor changes, some kind of color variations. The belt's kind of changed a little bit. The boots have changed somewhat. But all in all, it's pretty much been a similar look for the most part. So let's get into having a look at how the costume looks and picking apart what we think of the costume, starting with the cape. And thankfully, the clasps, the buckles, the attachments, whatever you want to call them, they're gone. Here we have Superman tucking in the cape under the collar, and this is a much better look for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think the collar itself is at a good. It's not too high up, so it's not like a new 52 look. Even though some of the other parts of the costume kind of look like that. But yeah, the cape being tucked in how it is looks just spot on, perfect.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
Mark,
again, not being a fan of the buckles, it's tucked in as Superman's suit normally is tucked in at the neck, and it's a good collar. It just looks really good.
yeah, and the length is great as far as I'm concerned. It's just the right length. It's down around about um, just above ankle height, about around the Achilles heel type of look. So that's pretty good for me. I'm happy with the length of that, and the material, as you said, looks great. It's a great vibrant red.
Hmm.
All right. So then we look into the body of the costume, and here is like another one close up of one. I think this is like season one, season two costume, where we've got that ribbing type of, they've got the mesh type of look. There's some, different lines and seams on it. It has changed a little bit over time. We've seen in here in this one of the most recent costumes, it's got like an almost like a screen printed abs and rib looking to it to kind of give it a bit of shape, less seaming on this one, but in general, it hasn't changed too much. The color has kind of changed a little bit from a bit more vibrant blue, then a bit of a more muted blue here, but the seams are gone, that kind of stuff. So it has changed somewhat, but all in all, it's pretty much been a standard look.
Yeah, I much prefer the season three one. I don't dislike the season one and two, but the season three they gave him less puffy shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
which in certain shots in the first two seasons looked a little off. But I've been rewatching season one recently, and really, even though it's a little off putting how like top heavy he kind of is, it still looks good.
Mm.
I don't have like really any complaints about that either, outside of the fact that the first two seasons it was a little too poofy.
Yeah, I didn't love, especially in the first season. It was very top heavy. It was just looked like he was just so muscular when you know that was not the case. It just looked a little too big for me. I liked it, but it looked a little too big for me. But this one I think is just right. You have the color, it doesn't have all the different little seams on it, and it's just what one solid, from the neck down, and no, I think it looks really good.
And then we look at the S, and this is just a close up of the initial one that we saw. The shape is the same, pretty much what we got in the Supergirl series. The little yellow divots that they had on the top and sides that went with like the gold belt buckle things has gone. It's just a bit more of like here they're just a blue, but they're kind of still there. It's almost like an attachment type of thing. But as we saw here, it has changed from season to season a little bit. The shape of it is still the same, but here it's more fabric and part of the
Mm-hmm.
costume as far as the mesh look is concerned. Where in the later seasons, it's been a bit more of an applique that kind of stands out a bit more as a shinier, more not plastic, but definitely not material looking thing.
Yeah, I absolutely love the season 3 one. I didn't mind the season 1 and 2 one. I thought the S was a good size. I thought it looked good on the costume. This one it just looks better, and I think it's because they've trimmed down the suit itself,
Mm.
so the S symbol kind of stands out more. Though I will say, the 3D quality of this. Did you guys ever have sisters that had like those little like plastic things that you put a piece of paper over and rub with like a color pencil and it puts a design on the paper?
Yes. Yep.
That's kind of
Yeah.
that's kind of what the S looks like. Like
Yep.
you could put like some paper over there and just make a little image of it.
Rubbing.
But
Yeah.
no, there it's like with the season 3 costume. I'm like almost like no notes. You guys got it on lock now.
I liked the S. I wouldn't say I liked this better when it was part of the costume. It was more like we would see in the comics. But I do like the way the because the S the one the third season, the S does look a little different. And I like it's still faithful, but there's just a little bit, just something a little bit different about it, and I kind of like that they're making it. It's almost like they're making that particular S their own thing. Now, what happens in the fourth season, I couldn't tell you whether it's the same, but I do like. I mean, I never like when it's a raised shield,
Mm.
but I do like the way this one looks. I
Yeah.
like the style of the S.
They've given it that image or that idea of being a raised S with some that embossing type of look, but it's not necessarily like the Superman Returns costume where it was actually, bulky and embossed. So
Mhm.
there is that to give it. Then we look down at the belt. Obviously, there are no trunks here, but we do have a red belt that has a kind of weird little diamond-shaped, S-shield-shaped buckle that has some kind of, it looks like an image, a Kryptonian image or something in the middle there, but it stands out in this particular photo. You don't really see it too much in other photos, but it's an interesting, it kind of breaks up the costume. There's a hint of yellow on the buckle there, as I said, but in general, it's just pretty much red, and an interesting kind of dipping design that is not just straight across the whole belly.
Yeah, I love the belt. I like how it breaks up the costume just right. I like how the buckle itself is the shape of the symbol, but it's not like the Superman Returns belt that had the symbol like obvious on it.
Mm.
So yeah, just really well done.
Yeah, and it did change
Yeah,
from season to season. As you can see, season 3's got a bit more of a different feel to it around the sides, where this one had like up and down segments to it. This has got more of a kind of a design, almost like a timber, like what you'd see on the back of a chair, with some engraving.
Mm.
I'll agree with
Yeah,
that.
the last picture, not this one, the one you just showed before. That is that third season, or that's the second season. This one right here,
Yeah, I think that's more from the first or second season.
first or second. Okay. Because, no, I was just going to say, these belt buckles don't need any. It doesn't. They don't need a design. They don't need the S. They don't need whatever that particular thing is. The solid color is fine. So the one for the third season, now I think that looks just right.
Okay.
Again, yeah, it has a shield, but it doesn't necessarily need the S shield, and it breaks it up. I mean, we're dealing with these suits now that don't have the trunks, so you need the belt or something to really to break it up, and sometimes they're a little too thin or too thick. But this one I think is just right for the suit.
Very good. And then we look at the S. We looked at the S already. Then we look down at the boots. Now, this was from I think like the season 1, and these were weird kind of boots that had a stunted look to them. We didn't have the familiar little dip at the front, but then as the season, we've got these ones where are much more like the design of the Superman boot with a little dip at the front on the shin, bit more of a bulkier, like a leather boot look here. But some interesting designs over the seasons that have had. This is more like the Supergirl costume, but where these are a bit more Superman-esque.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious the behind the scenes on the changing the costume. Was it that they didn't like how it was looking before, or they, is this something that, because the Flash costume would change and evolve over the seasons as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but it seems like if you're putting that much money into a costume, you kind of want to stick with one design. Having said that, I'm glad they went with the new boots. They do look more like the traditional Superman boots with the V design. So yeah, again, the the I don't think we've hit Super Saiyan yet with the costume design, but we're almost there.
Mark.
No, I think they look good. I mean, I always like boots that look a little sleeker. Not as much as say the work boot. Although this isn't as much the work boot as I think it was a Superman Returns that really had that kind
Yeah.
more that work boot look. And this isn't as bad as that. And that's not bad. I like it. Just like I said, I like something a little bit more sleeker, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, when you first see it, I mean, it really does, it fits the whole suit and is certainly a little more faithful, I think, to what we're kind of used to.
Exactly. Then we've got Tyler himself, and, say what you will about the 5 o'clock shadow. It's constant. People, why Superman doesn't shave? Why isn't he clean shaven? But, other than that, which I've kind of gotten used to over the, that he's just a bit more of a weathered, older Superman, and that's their thing. That's what they're going with here, and it works for him. I like, the hair is a bit more of a bouffant, not as much as it was in that very first image we got from him from Supergirl, but it suits him here. And he's got the great look. He's got a, pretty handsome face and a pretty good jaw for it. And, I like his Superman. I like his Clark Kent a bit better. He just seems to be a bit of a softer Clark Kent. But I think his Superman is good just the same. I prefer it when he's smiling than when he's angry, and he kind of gets angry a fair bit in certain scenes, which when he's fighting villains, you expect that.
The thing about the 5 o'clock shadow and the hair is, I think people kind of forget that every live action Superman has looked similar, but they've all had their own distinctive traits.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Cain had the slicked back hair. So did George Reeves. Henry Cavill kind of had different style. Like his hair would change subtly, but that kind of was like that distinguishing trait. Christopher Reeve looked like a Neil Adams drawing. And this Superman just has a 5 o'clock shadow. He's got a lot going on. He doesn't have time to stop and shave every 5 minutes. So I just, the things people like pick at, I mean, and like I'm picky too, but maybe I'm just getting old and just going the opposite of what you usually do. But I think he looks great. I've never had any problems except for maybe that first promotional still where it looked like he was trying to do like 50s Superman as like a rockabilly star. But other than that, it just looks great.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with the 5 o'clock shadow. I never really thought that much about it until everybody started on, the Superman doesn't shave, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It never bothered me. He's got that, the hair is fine. He's got that kind of chiseled look. I mean, all these guys are good looking, so it doesn't really matter. But his face, his chin, the 5 o'clock shadow, everything to me looks really good.
Yeah. So out of 10, I'm giving this Superman and Lois costume a solid 7.
I'm going to give it an 8 overall. I especially season 3. I really like it. And just for Steve there, get off my lawn.
I'm giving it an 8. An 8.
Excellent. Very good. Well done. So that's our episode 10 of the costume analysis of Superman and Lois's costume or costumes for Tyler Hoechlin.